Hi, good morning, folks. Today is September 12th, 2025. This is John Decker, the Director of Community Services at Alta California Regional Center. And this is Coffee with Community Services, our weekly service provider meeting. Thank you very much for joining us today. So far, we have 64 folks logged in, and I will acknowledge and thank you very much, everyone, for the birthday wishes today. If anyone needs me, I will be in meetings all day long. Um, for our agenda, I'll do that and then I'll get into staff introductions. So we're going to have our sign of the week in Deaf Culture 101 with Michael. We've got Kate from Progressive giving an opportunity for some person-centered thinking trainings. We're going to have a spotlight with Arabesque music. Jordan's going to give us an update on our community resource development plan development priorities. We are going to go to DDS's calendar and take a look at their upcoming opportunities for you to participate in their stakeholder events. I believe Hubert is going to give an update on our resource fair one more time. We're just going to keep doing that until the resource fair happens. We are going to just go over our calendar, talk about some upcoming vendor forums that we have. I'm going to go to the DSP Collaborative website. This is a great time to celebrate DSPs this week. And so Carly's been doing a good job with some of the content on the website. And I know we've been putting out some stuff, as has ARCA and many of you as service providers. So we'll go over that a little bit. If we have time, we're going to talk about social recreation and the housing update that we gave during the last board meeting. We had a board executive committee meeting a little bit earlier. For staff on this morning, I'd say good morning to our Specialized Services and Supports Unit Manager, Jordan, and our Lead Community Services Specialist, Jason. Good morning. We've got from Community Services as well, oh, I wanted to see if I could do Wason, Jason, and Mason all in a line, but I can't, unfortunately. Tom, Alicia, we have our manager, Michelle, on. We have Sammy from Community Services and Sharon and Elijah as well. We have Shauna and Christine and our manager, Scott, from our Quality Assurance and Compliance Unit. Good morning to Jessica, I see on as well, and Boyd too. Good morning. And also from Community Services, we have Denise and Ethan and Hubert and Julie are on this morning. We also have Carly as well. And good morning to Carly. And we've got Beverly on from Community Services. From Client Services, we have Dana on. Good morning, Dana. And Rhonda is on. And as I said, Rhonda, if we have time, maybe we'll do that housing update that we did for the Disability Housing Alliance for folks. And then we've got Christy on from Community Services. We have Jordan Cody on, our new legal services manager. So we're going to pause real quickly and say hi to Jordan. And Jordan, welcome to Coffee with Community Services. We've got about 60 of our providers and 15 staff on right now. And so, Jordan, let's have you unmute. Do you know kind of broadly the areas at Alta that you're going to be helping out with?
Hello, thank you all for having me. This is my first Coffee with Vendors meeting. I'm getting settled in here at Alta, and predominantly my focus will be on the Public Records Act and how that impacts Alta and how that'll impact all of you. So if I could ever be a resource of any kind, feel free to contact me with any questions, and I'll do my best to kind of, guide you in the right direction. So thank you all for having me.
Awesome. Jordan got his baptism by fire by attending his first provider advisory committee meeting in person with many of you yesterday. And thank you so much. We had an excellent conversation and a lot of great questions that came up that give us a number of things to work on for the future. I want to also say good morning to Monet from Community Services as well. And we have Michael from Community Services and Brandy. And then additionally from Client Services, Carol Wellhome. Good morning, Carol, our client services manager, and Damien from community services as well. I am now going to spotlight Michael Mercado for our sign of the week and our Deaf Culture 101.
All right. Before sign of the week in Duck Culture 101, I want everyone to sign happy birthday to you. So we'll start with the practice and then we'll just do the short song. So first, we know happy, and then that middle finger starts at the chin and goes to the chest. So birthday, and then to you. Ready? No sound, just signing. And then this is Dear John. Awesome. Okay. Let me go ahead and remove my background. Okay. I feel better. The backgrounds aren't deaf friendly for me, so I wanted to have it up for that. All right, our signs of the week. So we're going to do another emotion today. We're going to focus on anger emotions. We're going to do anger or angry, mad, and frustrated. So for angry, those fives are going to turn into claws, start at the bottom of the chest and go up. And then again, we want that mad facial expression. So angry. Mad is going to turn towards your face and that claw, mad. And then frustrated. So you're going to close into a B hand shape and it's going to swipe against your chin with the back of your hand. You want to actually touch your chin. So frustrated. All right, so we have angry, mad, and we have frustrated. Great. And I will send you that link if you'd like to have some more practice. It's been nice. We've been teaching the different emotions, the happy emotions, sad emotions, and now anger. So when you talk with consumers and ask, how are you feeling today? Are you happy? Are you sad? Are you frustrated? It can really help with that communication and see how they're feeling that day. Okay. So now for Deaf Culture 101. We're going to talk about home signs versus American Sign Language or ASL. This might be a new term for you, home signs. So we'll talk about what that means and how it's different from ASL. So home signs are something that deaf people will create. It's a home signing system. It's typically gestures or made up signs that are used at home with family or friends. Home signs oftentimes happen when the person does not know American Sign Language. So they will come up with signs to be able to communicate, or they might have limited access to the deaf community. They might stay at home with their hearing family members or a school where there aren't other deaf students. And that can make ASL as a language harder to learn. Home signs can help with communication within a small circle. So with grandparents or older individuals who are unable to learn ASL or a new language, typically that's where you'll see it used. But home signs are really unique to each family. So if I was to use a home sign to someone in the deaf community, they most likely would not understand. They would be confused and not be sure what we meant. Also, most of the time using home signs with family or friends, if something was to happen to that family member or you lose that person, how would you be able to communicate with someone else? So that makes that communication more difficult. I'll give you an example of what a home sign might look like. So for a consumer who might say, this is the example. So I didn't really know what this gesture, this sign meant. I had to figure it out and go, okay, I'm trial and error, and I found out that they meant angry. So using this sign was their way to say I'm angry. So even for me trying to figure out that home sign and what the equivalent is for them in ASL. So American Sign Language has its own grammar, has its rules, vocabulary, and ASL is used broadly across the United States and in parts of Canada. It creates clear, successful communication, and it's a standardized language. So learning ASL can really connect those individuals to other deaf people to be able to communicate out in the community. So now that we have an idea of what home signs are and that unique communication with close friends or family members, but that might be a limited type of communication, it's very important that ASL is used in the community. So this might mean we use that new 644 service code, the ASL training and support. So the goal of that service code is to help consumers to improve communication, help the family members and friends, and be able to really facilitate that communication better. Thank you so much.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Michael. All right. I will say, as Michael presents the Deaf Culture 101 every week, I always think back to other incidences. And I think, well, Sharon Krupinski's been around long enough, and Carol has, who might remember our deaf client that only used home signs that was in the jail up in Yuba County and ended up not getting fed for, I think it was like a day and a half because he was not responsive to the bailiffs while he was there in custody. And no one understood how he communicated. That's one of the reasons why Alta has the rule that when our clients are incarcerated, we immediately reach out to law enforcement and let them know about any special needs that folks have. That had not been the case with that individual when he was up in the Yuba County Jail up there. So appreciate Michael and being able to bring people from home signs to acquiring the ability to better communicate through ASL is a great opportunity for us. So I am really looking forward to those service providers that are going to be interested in applying for the new ASL training service that Michael is working on. Thanks again, Michael. All right. Kate, I will actually throw it over to you next.
Okay, great. Let me share a flyer. All right, can you see it? Okay, so I just wanted to quickly share that there will be a free person-centered thinking training on October 1st and 2nd. This is presented by the Support Development Associates, and it's paid for by a grant, so it's free to join or to attend. But I do want to mention that there are limited seats, so sign up quickly. Last I checked, there was 20 seats left. I will put this flyer and the registration link in the chat. But my email is on this flyer. So if you have any questions, feel free to email me. You can also get the registration link through the QR code on the flyer.
So like right now, Kate, we could have 20 people in this meeting log in and register.
Yeah, we can. And then
That
it'll
could
be
happen
full.
today. I wonder now, do you have the ability to check your registration at the end of this meeting?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh,
I
I'm
should
just
be.
curious. Maybe we'll check back in with you. That's my little challenge for folks. I don't know if any of you have missed the opportunity to understand how important person-centered thinking is to our regional center. But at the end of the day, as you guys know, you're the ones that actually provide the direct services to all of our clients. And so it's very important that your staff have this as kind of a fundamental tenet to what you are doing. And so this is free training that is going to be available. I think we may be funding this through HCBS funding, if I
Yes.
remember correctly, which means that we've, put a lot of work into getting these grant funds out there. So I'm really hoping that we can get some folks to sign up for this one with Progressive. You guys have done a really good job in these meetings, making sure that these opportunities are shared with your staff. And thank you, Progressive, for once again offering this for all of our service providers.
Of course. Happy to. All right.
And you can drop it in the chat, right? Our link to the flyer, right? As well, I
Yes.
think.
Yep. I'll
And
do
your
that right now.
email too. Thank you so much, guys. Excellent. Jordan, I made you a co-host if you wanted to
Sorry,
share anything for the
John, I have a
oh,
question. Would
yep.
you mind posting the two interpreters, because there's another deaf and hard of hearing person in the meeting and they're looking for the interpreter. So would you mind spotlighting them both, please?
I can do that. One moment, folks. Those of you that do not want to choose to have the interpreters spotlighted for you, you can choose the gallery setting and change that back. I apologize. I need to find the other interpreter real quickly to spotlight. Thank you for letting me know.
I'm waving John just to try to help you
No,
out
I
so you can
got you.
see me.
Sorry. Thank you. Excellent. Thank you for letting me know. And I hope that this will help support our participants to be able to find your interpreters. Okay, so let me just change my view again real quickly. Okay, thank you very much for that. Jordan, I believe I was in the process of asking you if you were interested in sharing your screen or if you just want to go over oh, there we go.
Yes, I would like to share my screen. Thank you so much, John. So folks, I know over the past a month or so, couple months, actually, we've been letting you guys know that it's that time of year again where the regional center has to determine our community resource development plan and community placement plan development priorities. And in part of that, right, we reached out to our stakeholder groups, all of you guys, families, right? And clients to see what your guys' priorities were. So I want to let you guys know that we always post this information on our website for transparency purposes. The actual community resource development plan is under service providers. If you're interested in knowing the past contracts that we awarded for previous fiscal year projects, then that's under our transparency website. So specifically looking at this year, you would toggle to this kind of greenish bluish square here, and it will take you to our development priorities. Right. So based on stakeholder feedback, which I will summarize again here in just one second, we are looking at developing affordable housing. That will be multifamily housing projects. We're actually going to be updating this. I think we're going to be proposing a few more than two multifamily housing projects. And next week we can get into a little bit more detail of exactly which multifamily housing projects we will be requesting through our community resource development plan from DDS. We're also looking at providing some policy and training surrounding affordable housing and housing services. We are looking at developing another children's enhanced behavioral support home. We do have some youth that have sexually maladaptive behavior, and we want to try to target that for that facility. We are also looking at prioritizing services for the deaf of hard of hearing. And we're looking at continuing to support some development priorities for substance use disorder, right? Looking at providing some additional training opportunities to the caregiver groups within our service system. So families, right? Actual care providers or DSP groups. So just as a quick summary, we always share the results of the stakeholder survey that we conducted. We shared that with the public a couple months ago. We always have a meeting to get your guys' input and feedback. But as you can see, right, affordable housing is always high on the list. And we were really fortunate this year that we got a total of 253 survey participants. So you can see kind of going down the line what the priorities are. And then we also break down the demographic information for you so you know exactly what the survey participants were, if they were service providers, clients, or family members, right? Or if they were an Alta employee, and then the county in which the survey participant resided. So, any questions about our priorities? Like I said, so kind of the next steps for us is that on Monday, we will be finalizing our community resource development plan request, and it's required to be submitted to DDS on Monday. And then, John, what usually takes at least a month or two for DDS to go through all of those proposals from all the regional centers, and then we will find out in a month or two, right, which projects will be awarded through startup funds. So.
Yeah, the department has been moving very fast this fiscal year. It's, different management at the department for this fiscal cycle. And so the plan came out much earlier this year than we're used to. And we're hoping that we get approvals because that gives us a lot more time to get in contract for these projects. So I just want to acknowledge there's a lot of work that Jordan and her team go into in gathering the stakeholder feedback. That's the only way that this type of funding works, is that we have to hear from our community. What are the gaps in services that are needed? We also then work with like Michelle Duchesne, with Helen, and talk about what are some of the places where startup funds might be helpful. What are some of our, service areas there as well. So anyways, just to acknowledge the work that has gone into it thus far. We'll be submitting our plans and hoping that we get a lot approved so that we can bring, new and innovative services to our area. Any questions about that, please don't ever hesitate to reach out to Jordan Eller, myself, any of our team members. We can have work with you guys about it. Thank you for putting that in the chat. All right. With that, it's 11:27. I think we've got time. I don't believe we went over last week. You guys can tell me we did if we did, but I don't believe that we went over the update that we gave the board about the housing projects that we are working on. We gave a short update to the Disability Housing Alliance last week, and I know yesterday during the in the Provider Advisory Committee meeting, Garrett mentioned that I had given a brief housing report to everyone. And so actually Rhonda is the one that put together this report, and this is for our Disability Housing Alliance meeting. And so Rhonda, I think we'll just kind of go through these and your microphone is down by your mouth. Perfect. Yes. All right. So we'll go through these. Are you guys seeing my shared screen with ACRC housing activities, right?
Yes.
Okay, so just quickly to kind of go through these, as we mentioned, the multifamily housing development is something that our regional center has increasingly gotten into investing in. We've already successfully completed 2 projects where we've had the full lease up of the units, and we've got a number of other projects in the pipeline. We have multiple funding sources that we work with to try to create affordable housing. Like, for example, like Denise works on our HUD 811 projects, where we get to have access to set aside housing units that are available for our clients, along with some other qualifying individuals as well. But these set asides, when we're able to kind of set them in place, allow us to just have the units with a restrictive covenant for people with developmental disabilities for the next 55 years. And so these are a few of the different projects that were put forth with us, and just wanted to kind of illustrate that, kind of showing our commitment to our broad catchment area, but we have projects in Sacramento, which is a continuation of a previous project that we are looking at. We have one that was a new one that's proposed in Woodland, which we'll share kind of a little bit more in depth with folks. This is with a company that we just entered into a contract with for a project in West Sacramento last fiscal year. In the same vein, this is another project that we actually put forth to DDS last year, which is in the city of Roseville with Mercy Housing. And we are putting it forth again because, again, we've made that was Rhonda's big charge. Find something in Placer County to develop because we have so much support from the folks in the community and the political environment there in Placer County for some new development to occur. And then a couple new ones, new relationships that we've been making. One of them, Sage Housing Group, is one that Denise already, I think, had a previous relationship because they have a HUD 811 project, I think up in Yuba City or whatever, and then I think other areas. And then Abode Communities is a new one that we are looking at supporting in Elk Grove, which I know we're looking throughout our entire catchment area, but we were disappointed 2 years ago because a project that we were looking at doing in Elk Grove, right on Laguna and Bruceville, ended up not being able to come to fruition. And so we'd really like to be able to bring a project to that Elk Grove area. Rhonda's getting ready to embark on a number of closing calls to close the loan for the land acquisition for the project in West Sacramento. So I think the goal, right, Rhonda, is by the end of this month, they want to be able to close the loan and spend down the funding for that project. So that's very exciting. That means that we will have acquired like 2 properties in West Sacramento in a period of like 3 months for affordable housing development. So for a place where we had nothing whatsoever other than the Washington Courtyard in 1995, if anyone's familiar with that old project that the regional center had, yeah, there's not a lot of other options. We have been for years trying to get the Shriners project off the ground, and we'll continue to try to get it off the ground in the city of Davis. This entails annexing a little bit of land into the northeast corner of the city of Davis. And with it would be developing up to 50 affordable housing units, possibly. It'll likely be less than that in maybe the first phase, but that project is now called Willow Grove. It continues to move along, and our excellent partner from the State Council on Developmental Disabilities will be joining Rhonda and I to do some public comment at the City Council meeting in Davis on September 30th. So we'll be out there in the evening, and again, it's so impactful when we have individuals served and advocates like Peter that can participate with us to give public testimony at these types of things. Additionally, we're super excited. My whole morning of meetings was about the On My Own agency and the expansion of the roommate matching application that they have created, and that becoming something that we're going to look at implementing statewide. And so we've been very pleased to work collaboratively with On My Own to incorporate a lot of feedback from the regional centers, deaf and hard of hearing specialists group for how they should create an app that is user friendly for individuals that are deaf. And they have implemented those changes to the satisfaction of the Department of Developmental Services. And we are now looking at expanding and offering that throughout the state of California. So that is a lot of work that's going on. And then finally, and more to come on this soon for folks, but assistive technology is really happening right now. We finished up the vendorization for Grand Care, which is the large tablet devices. Regional Center of the East Bay completed the vendorization kind of on our behalf for the remote support agency Safe and Home. And Rhonda is doing the vendorization for Simply Home right now, which is another remote support agency that's utilized in our state of California assistive technology pilot. We're working with them. The next phase of the big pilot that we have been doing is creating a directive and some guides to regional centers on how assistive technology can really be utilized to increase opportunities for independence for individuals with developmental disabilities throughout the state of California. And we honestly, we're going to be doing a lot of promoting of it. So we are going to be speaking at the directors of client services for all of the regional centers. We're going to be speaking with them at their December meeting. I'm hoping that folks will be joining us at the Supported Life Conference to watch our panel at the Supported Life Conference. Your local service providers, the STEP agency, and On My Own will be there for that. So hopefully you guys will be there for that too. And then I just will reiterate what and promote what Jay promoted. I think it was just last week, which is for the upcoming housing mixer, which is October 16th from 3 to 5 p.m. And I don't know if we have an opportunity or if Rhonda has the flyer handy, but if you do, if we can put it in the chat for people just so that they can have a reminder of that. So just wanted to see if anyone had any questions about Alta's housing development activities. Every couple of months, Rhonda's been writing these awesome reports that capture a lot of the work that's going on. So I would just say kudos again to Rhonda for finding and really helping nurture these relationships with these affordable housing developers. Like, this is not Rhonda and I's background at all, and we are really doing our best to try to speak the language of it. I'm feeling less intimidated when I sit in meetings with Denise, when Denise talks about affordable housing and the Height at 11 stuff, because now I'm finally starting to understand it. But even those projects, and especially these ones that Rhonda is working on, they're so complex and it's very different than what we are typically doing through the regional center. But we have seen such amazing outcomes for people that have been able to get access to this affordable housing. And, we have the first housing access services that we put in place with the STEP agency. We've had the second one now with On My Own. And we have had hundreds of individuals with developmental disabilities and their families that have been able to get housed through these services that otherwise, I don't know that there would have been a likelihood that the generic resource housing navigators that are out there would have been able to begin to approach meeting the needs the way our vendors have. So again, it just means better outcomes. And as all of you, say in your stakeholder feedback to Jordan, we need affordable housing. We need affordable housing. There's a lot that goes into it, including doing that housing navigation piece of it. And really what Rhonda is doing, which is that real housing development side of it, getting us into these deals and making sure that, they happen. So it's exciting stuff. And we're going to be presenting, I will be presenting in October. There's going to be another conference put on by the California Policy Center for Intellectual Developmental Disabilities down in San Diego. And so I'll be presenting about all of our updates for housing in our area too. All right. I'm going to throw it over to Val right now, and you're welcome to share your screen if you have anything to share as well.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, John. I appreciate it. And thank you again for inviting me to this meeting. Hi again. My name is Val. I'm the founder of Arabesque Conservatory of Music. We do music lessons, music therapy, and art lessons throughout California. And we're now vendors with 20 regional centers and finalizing our 21st by the end of the year, which is going to be the San Andreas Regional Center. So we specialize, our biggest specialty, and I'm going to turn on the slideshow right here. Give me 1 second. Are you guys able to see it?
Yep.
Yep. Okay, perfect. Yeah, so as you know, we specialize in in-home lessons, studio lessons, and online lessons. For in-home lessons, we essentially can accommodate any area in California. We have a lot of teachers and therapists, a network that we've been growing for the past few years. So we can cover the entire catchment area of Alta Regional Center, and we offer piano, guitar, voice, violin, and drums, among other instruments. So if somebody wants to do a trumpet, if somebody wants to do any kind of woodwind instrument, all of our teachers are multi-instrumentalists. So don't be shy. And sometimes we do get requests for odd instruments, and we will be able to accommodate, because again, we constantly hire different teachers who play different instruments. So, and we also offer instruments. So if the family has a financial hardship or is not able to obtain an instrument, we will provide them an instrument free of charge and ship it directly to their home. We pride ourselves in making music accessible to everybody. So we want to make sure that everybody is able to take classes with no restrictions. We also service both kids, adults, all ages and all levels. And we do have studio lessons and online lessons as well, although it's not as popular as in home because the families love the convenience to take lessons in their home. But the option of online lessons and the studio lessons is also available to them. I wanted to also briefly talk about the difference between music lessons and music therapy because we've had a lot of requests for music therapy and music lessons, and service coordinators and families would always reach out and ask what is the difference. So as you are aware, if you want to learn piano or guitar, it's going to be just music lessons. So a teacher would come to the home of the family, teach them how to play an instrument. As opposed to music therapy, which is more clinical practice to achieve a non-medical goal. So for instance, if kids have social skills issue or cognitive challenges or social anxiety or emotional regulation issues, this is where music therapy comes into play because it's monthly reports, documentation to work essentially on the non-medical goals using music. Now, all of our teachers do have experience working with special needs. So even if the family does choose to do music lessons and the kid has autism, we still can accommodate the referral because all of our teachers are trained, and we essentially able to accommodate whether the kid has a behavior challenge. We always call the families up before signing them up for lessons to kind of learn more about what they're looking for, if they have any type of restrictions or challenges. So we always call the families before signing up for lessons. So that way, when authorization comes through from a service coordinator, we'll be able to already match them with a teacher that is going to be the best fit for them. Now, we also offer art lessons, and this is also an interesting thing because we are vendors with the Tri-Counties Regional Center for Art Lessons. And essentially, I don't know if everybody's aware of it, but if a service coordinator has a student or a family that is interested in art lessons, they can request courtesy vendorization. And it's a very, very simple process. They would just request documents from the Tri-Counties Regional Center, and we'll be able to also service your families under art lessons as well. Since I do know that there has to be an interest from a client in order to request courtesy vendorization, but I do want to let you guys know that this service is available. So we offer art lessons both in-home, studio, and online, and it's also mixed medium. So there's painting, drawing, 3D art, and a lot of different perks in doing the art lessons with us because a lot of families have been asking for that. So just wanted to throw it out there to let you know that this service is available should you request it. Let's see. So, a little bit about our team. I myself as a Juilliard trained musician, I started this company with my business partner a few years ago. And the biggest goal for us was to be able to serve everybody with high quality music education. So all of our teachers, they come from Berkeley, Juilliard, Yale, the best conservatories in the United States. And everybody is background checked and live scanned. So because we did have sometimes the questions of families are being a little bit hesitant. Well, the teacher, I don't know the teacher, and they're going to come to my home. Like, is it safe? So I wanted to let everybody know that everybody has gone through a very extensive, rigorous interviews, references, backgrounds, and live scan, so that when the teacher comes to the family, they're already extremely vetted and extremely professional to be able to service the family. So so there's that, and then of course we have the studio lessons and we have online lessons. Again, it's not as popular because everybody wants in person, and it's always better, especially when you work with special needs individuals. The one-on-one in-person interaction is always the best way to go. As mentioned, we offer music lessons, music therapy. All of our therapists are board certified therapists. We actually have partnerships with CSUN and Berklee College of Music. When they have graduates from music therapy, they would always send it to us, and we offer them full-time jobs, and we have really, really great employment opportunities. So that's why we're able to accommodate a lot of referrals throughout California, whether it's music lessons or music therapy with our board certified therapists. This is just like a little bit of a testimonials. You guys can go on Google, kind of see what families have been saying about us. And this is the referral process. So the way the referral process works, it's actually pretty cool and very, very simple. So if a service coordinator has a family that is interested, they can just email us, call us, or submit a referral using a referral link, which I'll send to you guys after the meeting, so you can always use it. Whenever the referral link is submitted, it automatically goes to our database, and we always call the family. So it goes to our database, our team sees it, and we then call the family. So we never submit a referral or authorization without talking to the families first to find out what their needs are. So once the referral form has been completed, we would call the family, ask them what instrument you're looking for, how many hours per week, do you want to tell us a little bit about your child? And then we customize the lesson plan according to their needs. Then their authorization is submitted with the service coordinator. And as soon as we get an approval, whether it's through automated emails that we already set up to receive through Alta Regional Center, or just the service coordinators can let us know, hey, the authorization has been approved starting September 12th, 2025, then the lesson is going to be scheduled right away.
Hey, let's stick with that. Let's stick with that electronic authorization coming through instead of the phone call or email.
Oh yes, well that's essentially what happens. We get the authorizations via email, but sometimes the service coordinator would just let us know, hey, just wanted to let you know the authorization has been approved. We don't want to like start asking like, well, send us the proof, right? Like we take the word for the service coordinator, and we want to be able to schedule lessons. But yeah, so usually this is how it is. We automatically get it. We forward it to our team. We have a teacher assignment department, so it's the department just handles the assignment of students. So once authorization is complete, we'll work on scheduling the students right away. Do you guys have any questions so far? I mean, I'm sure maybe there's some things that I've missed, but feel free to ask me any questions.
In the chat, there's a question from our client services manager, Dana, and it is, what counties do you cover in our catchment area? So we have a 10-county catchment area. And the question is, what counties do you cover for your in-person services?
Perfect. Yeah, I'm seeing now. Thank you so much for pointing it out. Appreciate it, John. Yes, so essentially we service the entire catchment area of the regional center. We have a lot of kiddos so far with Alta that we're serving, and all of our teachers, they're traveling teachers, right? So essentially we pay them for mileage, we pay them for driving time. So that's why they're willing to go, they're willing to drive to the home of the family. So far, we haven't had any issues in terms of which areas we cannot accommodate. I mean, of course, sometimes there's going to be a situation where a parent would say, oh, I want a female teacher for guitar at 10 a.m. on a Sunday. Obviously, it narrows down, the possibilities. But even if we have a situation like that, we are actively hiring teachers all the time. And we always make sure that even special requests are being accommodated. So to answer the questions, we're essentially able to cover the entire catchment of Alta Regional.
Thank you very much. I just got a note in the chat that the interpreters are not able to be seen anymore. Sorry.
And no worries. And I'll also email you, the flyer and the referral form, everything essentially we talked about. So
perfect. Yeah, if you could put your information in the chat, that would be great. If there's any way you can drop this deck in the chat too, that's super helpful for folks, because we do have some of our client services managers that are on here.
Oh yes, absolutely. Give me 1 second. Let me do it right now. I'm not the best at multitasking, so if you hear silence, it means that I'm working on it. Okay, I have sending the deck. And also to mention, I know we didn't touch up on that. Okay, let me just put it in right now. And that's essentially going to be the referral form. Second. Yeah, this is just like a template that I was about to send you after the meeting as well, but you guys can have that too. Okay, it's a very
All
long
right, well,
email.
thank you
Let me
very
see.
much. Does anyone else have any other questions? All right. Thank you. You can go ahead and stop sharing, and I'm going to actually share an update for all of you real quickly on, I guess this is timely. This came up yesterday during our provider advisory committee meeting, and I think this is a good place for us to share that Alta has put forth a revision to our social recreation activities, camp, and non-medical therapies regional center policy. Can you guys see that right now, the policy? Yeah. All right. The big takeaway from this and a summary is that the regional centers, when the state of California resumed funding for non-medical therapies and social recreation, were required to create new policies because we had not funded these services for about 13 years or so. And back then, our standards for funding those services were even different than they are now. So with that, we developed a board approved policy last year, a year and a half ago. It went through DDS review first before we had our board approve it. And then subsequently, the department is reviewing policies and asked the regional center to revise our social recreation policy. The revisions that were requested are related to standards that we put in place that may be seen as limiting people's opportunities to be able to access social recreation. Operationally at our regional center, we recognize this because we have no longer a social recreation committee that meets regularly to review purchase of service requests. And this is why. In looking at the funding criteria, previously we had language that indicated that the funding could not be utilized for those that were under vendored care. That has now been added in that it can be utilized for those that are under vendored care. Previously, we required that the planning has identified and documented a challenge. That is not something that is required in order to initiate social recreation services. So that is being removed from our policy. Social recreation camp and non-medical therapy services are not currently funded through a generic resource. Again, that is something that is being struck and not required. The biggest is in this area, which is we had developed some guidelines to help inform our service coordinators and meeting with planning teams to, I think, try to provide some balance to the number of hours that are requested and certain responsibilities. The department has asked us to remove all of these guidelines that we previously had as a agency, which is funding for social recreation activity, service program, or non-medical therapy may be purchased as determined through the planning team assessments and recommendations. Social recreation activities may occur once or twice weekly for 2 hours total per week, but is based on the frequency and quantity of services assessed and determined to be needed within the planning team process. Non-medical therapies may occur twice a week or consistent with the planning team assessments and recommendations and service needs determination. One session of camp up to 2 weeks per year may be purchased. Social recreation services and non-medical therapies cannot be used to replace an individual's need for childcare when parents are working. Additionally, activities that are solely entertainment, such as musicals, concerts, movies, comedy shows, and sporting events, or events that are a one-time admittance, such as amusement parks, are not considered social recreation. So all of that is being struck from our agency's policy. For those of you that obviously, well, I will say this. This is being proposed before our board to be approved by our board at the board meeting at the end of this month. You as service providers have a representative, Garrett Broadbent, who is a member of your vendor community, who sits as the co-chair of the provider advisory committee and is the representative of the board. So this is something that's going before the board at the end of the month. It was presented during the board executive committee meeting, I think, on Monday for review. And again, this has the changes so it can be very clear to everyone that our policy otherwise is the same, other than we cannot look at limiting any of those different areas. I will acknowledge that I understand that also some of you some support for social recreation activities as FMS agencies that are on this call too, and that this does impact you all as well, the changes that are being made through our purchase of service policies here. So with that, please, it's tough when the department tells us to do something because the timeframes get a little bit messed up. Like normally, we would have maybe a little bit more of it. We've already kind of expressed it to our client services managers. They've seen it come off of, our staffings and things, but it's just tough because it has to go right back in front of our board as well before, because we really want to have obviously a board approved policy. Again, it's not necessarily adding a bunch of, but it really does take away a number of those different things. I don't know if folks are interested in discussing that further. I wanted to make sure folks were updated because we did go over it during both the meeting at the board executive committee and then also the provider advisory committee meeting. I do want to touch on the newly released directives that have come out as well, because the newly released directives are related to some guidance from the department that we've been waiting on for quite some time. So just in the last few minutes here, I'm going to actually go to that stuff. And then in the meantime, I'll ask, we'll maybe get to the events calendar, but Hubert, I can just ask you to please drop the flyer into the chat for our emergency fair later this month, which we're going to continue to promote. You guys are seeing my shared screen here. I'm going to the directive area, which if you go to rate reform directives and updates, and there's 3 new updates that were posted on here. The first one is one that we've been waiting for quite some time, which is the excessive mileage rate models. Within the excessive mileage rate models, it describes the service codes and the conditions with which the regional center may be able to give additional mileage payments to service providers. Some of you remember that there are rate models that have been developed by the department, and within those rate models there is a certain amount of mileage that is built in for certain rates. So for example, Ethan as service providers, the ones that do the respite services, they have a certain amount of mileage that's built into their rates. The department is allowing us an opportunity to utilize a calculator to look at your mileage that may be above what is built into your rate, and use that for the purposes of doing an additional payment from the regional center. The challenge is we have not quite yet operationalized exactly how we are going to do those payments to the regional centers. Oh, I had it up and then it went away. Sorry. There is a calculator that they've given to us through a SharePoint. Are you guys able to see this calculator now? Yeah, cool. So on this calculator, this allows us to put in, so there's only 4 service codes right now that this is impacting. Service code 116, service code 117. Those are the 2 specialized therapeutic services, service providers. This also impacts respite and infant development programs, service code 805. So if you put the information in here, it will calculate the number of miles that are funded in your rate already. And you as a service provider can give this information to us, which will allow us to calculate whether or not you may be eligible to receive a higher payment. What was pointed out during the provider advisory committee meeting, and I would repeat it here in showing you our calculator, is that the department has indicated that you should report actual miles driven by staff that delivered the reported billable hours. Only include mileage associated with travel between appointments and to transport individuals as part of the applicable service. We're going to do probably a special vendor forum specifically for those 4 impacted service codes so that they understand this. Any of you that have part of these service codes, or if you're a client services manager at the regional center, you may recognize that this is not the historical practice of our regional center to only fund mileage during the between events and when driving clients under those 4 service codes. Historically, we have also allowed billing for mileage for the trip to the client's home in some of those early start cases. What this means is that for those service providers that are desiring to have a excess mileage payment, when we go to add up and calculate the number of miles, the department will not allow us to include a calculation of the mileage to the person's home to start the therapy session. This kind of fundamentally changes things a little bit about how people may look at receiving referrals, what geographic areas they may look at serving. But what I will say is that there is a certain amount of mileage that is built into those rates for service providers that aren't really required to drive at all, like clients around. Like that's not really necessarily something that's going on in a number of those different areas. And so therefore, it's not that we're necessarily going to be making sure that you're using the mileage only that way for QA, but if you're looking to get paid extra for the mileage, you're going to have to provide source documentation that shows that those miles were actually driven, during the course of, between sessions or while traveling with a client providing service. Again, we will do a separate vendor forum for that. It has gone on since, oh goodness, January. We've been waiting for those directives. Just additionally, as far as directives go, if you're a transportation provider, you have been blasted with communication by the Department of Developmental Services related to the rate increases for mileage. I know that they posted the rates for the regional centers for mileage, and at Alta's new rate is $3 and is it 42 cents, which I know I have both Maida and Michelle on here who probably could both tell me what the rate was before, but it was like 2.30 or 2.15 or 2.18. It was in the $2 an hour or $2 a mile range before, and now we've jumped up to 3.42 for our vendors. So that's a significant increase that we're going to be operationalizing. And then additionally, for our 1883, our transportation broker, the state has moved from a per trip rate for reimbursement for services to a monthly rate for services. And so that's not necessarily of huge interest to everyone, but that's the newest directives that they have released. With that, we got through, I think, the vast majority of our agenda. I will just repeat what I said yesterday during our PAC meeting, that it's so cool to recognize so many direct support professionals this week. I think our social media person, Thalia, did a great job. I want to acknowledge you all that provided, your DSPs to us so that we could promote them. We're checking out your social media as well. And again, this is just a great time to acknowledge you all as service providers, and of course, the most important folks, the DSPs that are in there doing the work day in and day out. So I hope everyone has a great weekend. Thank you again, everyone, for joining me on my birthday for Coffee with Community Services and all of these great wallpaper backgrounds. Thank you all very much. Check out our events calendar. We got some awesome listening sessions coming up too. Thank you, guys.